August 2014, I was given this shell casing as a gift by a friend at work. He had worked in the Merchant Navy when he was young and acquired a shell casing while serving aboard a ship in the Falklands War in the 80s. The shell casing had been used as an ashtray and otherwise took up space, so he asked that I, being an arty person, to do something more creative with it. The shell was most likely fired from a 40mm anti-aircraft gun like this in the picture, which was quite poignant as Argentinian fighter jets were a big problem for the British, sinking a number of ships, including the destroyer HMS Sheffield and the Merchant Navy ship the Atlantic Conveyor, using Exocet missiles. I put a shout out on Facebook for a few suggestions on what I could do with it, as at this stage I was thinking of making it into a lamp stand, and got back a fascinating and unexpected response. Upon a moment's reflection, I knew this was the appropriate decision, a way to reuse and redefine a weapon of war as a weapon of peace, like the ICBM in Star Trek First Contact. I have an appreciation for brass, born of a youth spent at industrial museums and steam fairs, wanted to imitate a 1900s technical instrument without falling into the cliché waters of steampunk. This was to be, first and foremost, an art piece, and was in fact intended for an exhibition which was unfortunately called off. I knew about trench art and considered using the same sort of style by embossing an image or pattern onto the shell casing, but found these pieces to be too kitsch, and instead simply polished the smooth surface up to as great a shine as I could manage. I used brass only in its construction and learned a bit about soldering with a torch in the process. The brass bong has a number of features on it which are noteworthy and explain some of the history to the viewer. My work friend had told me that on his ship in the officers' mess they had used a cut-down main gun shell casing as an ashtray. After removing the firing pin, they had used a Falklands 10-pence piece to fill the hole. I incorporated a Falklands 1p coin to my piece, but wanted it to be more visible without turning the shell upside down, and so soldered a 1982 Falklands penny onto the front. I made a recessed base from a nice piece of wood and spent some time thinking about the inscription to put on the brass plaque, as if it were a museum piece. I named the piece the Stanley Peace Pipe, in reference to the Falkland Island capital city Stanley, site of the last battle in the Falklands War. The peace pipe, or calumet, is a symbol of peace and treaty, and I use it to imply the current relations between the UK and Argentina since the end of the junta. An unintended but welcome reference to the famous Stanley Cup trophy is also to be noted. The inscription reads, Stanley Peace Pipe, followed by the dates marking the start and end of hostilities. 2nd April 1982 to 14th June 1982. The following line features the approximate longitudinal and latitudinal coordinates of the islands, which I thought would be relevant to a former sailor. Finally, the number 907, which accounts for the dead on both the British and Argentinian sides. The Argentinian casualties make up over 2/3 of the total, and the wounded number over 2,000. I wanted to draw no distinction between those for whom this war cost them their lives, and the number is highlighted to make clear its significance. On the side of the shell casing is a water-level sight glass, as one might find on a steam boiler to indicate how full the bong is with water. The red float rises in a glass tube against an engraved scale of 0 to 1, divided into fifths. The glass is replaceable and sealed with rubber gaskets to stop leakage. For the thumb hole at the back, I used an emergency release valve from an old heating unit by removing the spring and pin, which I thought was much better than the standard inline holes seen on most bongs. I have had this piece ready for some months now, but I've delayed making this video until it became clear the exhibition it was destined for was not happening. I hope that I've succeeded in my friend's request, that I put the casing to a more creative use, and that my focus on the history was appreciated. Nothing left to do now but fill it up and try it out.